Speaker.
Simon O'Connor.
I was listening to television last night, actually, a debate of Nigel...
Order. Order.
I barely started.
I apologise.
Point of order. The right honourable...
I seek leave to table the Ernst Young report, which sets out they couldn't find the written contract that they were seeking.
Order. I need the date of the report, and I need to be assured it's not really available.
No, it's not really available. Most certainly not. This is
Order.
10 November 2015. Here it is here.
Leave us sought to table that Ernst Young report dated 10 November 2015. Is there any objection to it being tabled? There is none. It can be tabled. Simon O'Connor.
Mr. Speaker, I was going to have a crack at the member, but because he apologised, which is quite unusual, I'm actually going to be ultra nice today and not have a crack at UKIP. I mean New Zealand first. Look, over the last few days, anyone who's interested in politics one way or another is talking about Brexit. Of course, I've certainly found as I've gone around the electorate, while people are always interested in what the government's doing, actually there's been a lot of conversation with me around Britain's decision to leave the EU, and I'm not going to opine on that for two reasons. One, I don't think my particular opinion on staying or leaving is all that relevant. Secondly, something is already done. But I thought one of the things I wanted to actually touch on, and it will be somewhat academic, I'm afraid, is really what I think is one of the more disturbing aspects which has come out of the particular debate and how it reflects towards New Zealand and other countries. And that's really the sort of the changing public view of experts. And why I say that is, if you look at what was occurring around the debate in the United Kingdom, the views of experts was largely ignored. And in fact, the debate sort of took on a bit of an edge of deciding it was a wonderful thing to deliberately ignore experts. And why I raise this is because actually there's a bit of a disturbing rise, I would suggest, to this House in popularism. And often there are people on both sides of the House which will talk about what we see around the likes of the Nigel Farages, what we see in terms of, well, particularly the likes of Donald Trump, in the United States and in other countries, that popularism is gaining a toehold, a foothold, if you want, and again, expert opinions are being snubbed. And I think, unfortunately, again, I apologise if this is somewhat academic, but it's something I need to get off my chest. It's ultimately a dumbing down of the debate, ignoring of facts, rejecting of study and experience. And you hear, as we did through the Brexit debates, we're seeing it in the American presidential election and across other countries, and indeed we hear it here at times, that simply being an expert is dismissed, and all it's going to be is the appeal to a sort of a popular opinion, as if that in itself is of great value, and this concerns me greatly. There's also the sort of the sense, Mr. Speaker, that because someone has feelings about a topic, that that's somehow important, and it may betray my philosophical background and training, but actually just feeling something is not enough. In fact, I was talking to a bunch of young students on Monday, and as I pointed out to them, as I'm repeating here, that what you feel is largely irrelevant unless you can explain it reasonably. But the problem with this populist politics by Donald Trump and others is that somehow feelings are more important, or that someone has an opinion, that somehow that opinion is automatically and must always be valuable. And I think to some people in New Zealand in particular, again, simply having an opinion doesn't make it valid. It has to be tried and tested. And so I suppose I'm suggesting that even though experts are not always right, we need to actually base our decision-making on expertise and critique that accordingly, rather than ideology or emotion, or in fact, as we have seen, I think, through the UK, in spite. And so I think I just want to point out too that it's ironic in an age where we do have so much information, and in no way, therefore, could we ever know everything, that we are therefore more, or rather we are less prepared to listen to experts. And I think actually I want to turn to New Zealand as an example. And one of them we see in some of the political discourse, often from smaller parties. Actually, TPP is a really good example of listening to experts and not populism, and really importantly too, engaging. But long and the short, take the science of climate change. And quite rightly, the Greens and others will point out the majority of scientists agree that we have issues with climate change. We should and rightly listen to the experts. But the paradox develops, and why I talk about opinion and populism, is that actually the scientists are also quite definitive around things like genetic engineering, wonder if Stefan Browning's here to hear that. Genetic engineering, Stefan, the scientists are really clear on that. The scientists are really clear on fluoridisation. The scientists are incredibly clear on immunisation. And yet opinion, feelings, popular sentiment opposes these things. And I suppose not only as a constituent MP, a person of my own training and background, but also as the chair of the Health Committee, I think it's really important that we engage with experts and not necessarily follow the lead that we've seen in America, the UK and elsewhere. Well, sorry, a bit heavy, but...
Matt Ducey.